A very good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. So our last session, we were discussing about introduction to our training in a way that what is our roles and responsibilities. And from the roles and responsibilities, we derived, okay, the importance of a server and the server operating system, which is RHEL, right? So that's what we discussed in our last session. And from there, we wanted to practice this particular RHEL 9. So we don't want our desktops to be, running with RHEL 9 and all. So that standard practices, we don't want to take it. We wanted to run everything on the cloud, but you need to take up a sign up of Azure cloud and all. Okay. So that is where we wanted, we wanted to give some buffer time. So until then, so we wanted to practice this particular Linux in some other place. So where you get some free of cost, just to that to be on the browser. So we are using a killer coda in the meantime. So maybe by tomorrow end of the day, we'll start going to the Azure cloud. But yeah, until then, it's killer coda. So the killer coda is given, killer coda URL is given on the URL, by the way. So on the GitHub page, someone still does not have it. I'm picking on the chat. So here we have a killer coda URL. So I'm giving the killer coda. So now here there is two sections, by the way. So we will be going with the Linux basics to start with. And this requires a login as well. So if you're logging in, so just log in with your Google account and you should be fine. On the right side, we're getting terminal. So let it get ready in the meantime. So let's move on. Yesterday, we talked about the command line syntaxes, by the way. So the very important thing that we understood is there will be a command that you need to execute. Anything in Linux, you need to find a command. Okay. So, and this particular command also will have an options, by the way. Optionally, will have some options. You may find that option with hyphen character, hyphen word, or hyphen word, depends upon the command. So I have shown some command examples as well. And also sometimes a command may have some inputs as well to, I mean, sometimes a command may have some inputs as well to ask, for it to perform, by the way. Okay. So that's where the inputs will come into pictures. Here also we talked about in yesterday's session. And yesterday's session, we also talked about the folder structure. So the folder structure of Linux starts with a forward slash, whereas in Windows, it starts with the C drive backward slash, C colon backward slash. Under C drive, there are a lot of folders, okay, in the operating system. So which is doing the purpose of operating system. So here also you'll have a lot of operating system and a lot of directories in the operating system. And yeah, so since it is an operating system, so everything you don't need to be aware. But generally with Linux, by the way, over a period of time, you will start getting comfortable about these particular things, what are those and things like that. Okay. Um, and, and the next is um, here, you also need to understand that you're going to have a forward slash for a directory reference. And that means like each and every directory is delimited with a forward slash. So, and also in Linux, don't prefer to give any spaces in the folder and file names that you create is also another thing I mentioned. And also in Linux, by the way, the folder and file names are case sensitive. Like I mentioned, you create a file with, you create a folder with small characters like demo, and you try to create another folder with capital letters with capital demo. It won't work in Windows, right? But in Linux, it will work. So this part also we talked in yesterday's session. And after that, the three commands we talked about in yesterday's session, ls command to list the files. Ls is going to list the files, and ls-a is going to give you the list of even hidden files as well. And ls-l is going to show you a little long format of a file. It's just a view, by the way. So if I take my Mac OS for an example, right? So if I go here, now I have something here. So I have views. So I can see this, there's icons I can see, or I can see a list, by the way. So list is showing me the size, kind, data added. Okay, the views. So like that, ls-l view is a long view, we call it up. So shows bit more information. And at this point of time, so just this one thing you understand, that is the size of the file. Rest everything you will slowly understand by end of this week. And also you can give -a option to show the hidden files in a long thing. Okay, so that's what it is. And the next is we talked about is to identify the present working directory. Where are you? So pwd. If you go to some other location, you can check it out by using pwd, but going to another location by using cd command. Okay, so cd/var/log and pwd will show you where are you. So to avoid this pwd command, in my prompt, I always add the pwd output, the current working directory output. And so that you can no need to really go for pwd all the time. So until here, we have discussed in yesterday's session. So we'll start with the next topic in the next command today. So any questions before starting?
Hey Raghu, it's my first session. I'm gonna watch the video later. But would you suggest to finish the Linux administration and Linux basics and killer code out on the side as well?
No need. Anyhow, I'll take you through. So just follow me. That should be fine.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any other questions before starting? Okay, so let's get it started. So creating the files, by the way, we wanted to create some files. Okay, so then how do you do that? There are many, okay, and also in Linux, okay, a same job can be done in multiple ways as well. Okay, so we may be going with one of the widely used way and a standard, I mean, widely used and one of the way. Okay, so don't just excite that, that can also be done, that can, yes, it can be done. Like I'm calling it out, a single job can be done in multiple ways. Okay, so now the creating of the files also, it can be done in multiple ways, by the way. So one of the way I'm telling you over here is going to with a touch command. So touch command, and then you can give file.txt. So now what we have done is we have created a file.txt file, and do ls-l also. You can see that file.txt file, but the size is telling a 0 size file. It is just creating an empty file. 0 bytes it is showing. So it is just creating a empty file. All right. So that's how it is. And with the touch command, you can create multiple files also. Touch sample I have given, touch nodes.txt, touch lambda.py. Okay, I have created 3 different files. Okay. Now, the very important thing that you need to understand here, you created empty file. That's all the job is. But a very important takeaway over here is in Linux, there is no file extensions. I am still giving extension. So there are some existing files saying that .cfg, .log, okay, .cfg2 files, .log2 files. So the OS is also giving, I mean, we didn't set up any of these things, but still we got those files. And there are files with extension .log and .cfg. I also have given .txt to help is understanding it is a text file. .py, it's a Python file, something like that. Now, Linux still doesn't aware of it. Inside Linux, it doesn't really aware of it, by the way. This is a full file name. So including .txt is a file name, but in Windows, they have a file extension, by the way. Okay, support from directly from the OS is a file extension support. So they double click on the file The way that Windows works is you double click the file and it will open the application. So to open the application, they require extension. But in Linux, we don't do that way. So we give command and then the file name. We don't directly open the file name. In order to open the file name, first I have to tell which command I have to use it. So that means the software will open the file. So that's where the extensions really does not matter. Okay. And you don't have an extensions, but still we use extensions because extensions are easy for a user to understand what type of file it is. So that is the reason. So we'll still do this. All right. So that's about file creation. And the directory creation, the same like file. If you want to create a new folder, so right click new folder in Windows, you do. Even file also, by the way, in Windows also right click new text document. Let's say if you pick it up, so text document will be created and the file size is 0. So exactly the same touch command here. Exactly right click create new folder. So here also you have mkdir demo. Okay. So ls, so you got a demo one. Now, how do you determine whether it is a file or a directory? Okay, so lsfq. So the directory usually showing a blue color. That is one thing, but colors you can't guarantee every time. So let's say I disable ls colors, by the way. Okay, you can see this just coming everything as a plain text. So still you need to determine whether it is a file or a folder. So ls-l will help you. So any folder or directory, so starts with the D character. It is starting with a D, that means it's a directory. And if it is starting with a hyphen, so that is a file, by the way. Okay, that's the difference. Okay, like I mentioned, in Linux, you can also create the folders like this, but Windows doesn't support. I have created capital demo, a different folder, small demo, a different folder, but in Windows, it doesn't support. Linux, it does support. So the file names are case sensitive, meaning demo is different and demo is different. Okay. So this is how you can create your files and directories in this operating system. You're just learning the operating system, so how to do the job. So these two commands will help you in doing that job. Clear? Any questions? All right, I don't see any hands. So moving on, the next one is how do you remove files and directories? How do you remove some files and directories? In Linux, okay, so to remove files and directories, we have rm command. But both for the file and directory, you have the same command only, rm command to remove the file. So now let's say rm sample I'll give. Now rm sample is asking for, hey, do you want to remove this file? It is asking, since it is an empty file, it is telling empty file. Not an empty file also, it will tell that you want to remove the file. You can press Y for yes, N for no. I just pressed no, by the way. So either you type Y so that you're accepting it, or no to deny it. Now, whereas while I'm executing a command, I know that I wanted to remove it. All the time I had to give yes only, right? So to avoid the yes option, you can go with rm-f option. So if you're telling forcefully remove it, don't ask me anything, okay? Force way. Now ls that earlier it was having sample file. Now the sample file is gone. It is removed. Okay. But the very important thing is also is be careful while removing a file, as it deletes the content of the file, and retrieving the file, lost data is almost impossible, by the way. Okay. So be careful when you're actually removing the files. You may lose the content. Okay. All right. And the next one is removing the directories. And removing the directories, you're going to use with the rm command only and the folder, but it will tell that, hey, it's a directory. Yes. So that's where you had to use an option -r option, and a -r option asks for yes or no again. I'm pressing no. So to make it forceful, okay, rm-rf. You can also give rm-rf also like this. Demo to ls. So those two folders are gone. Now the same rm command with the -r option, you can remove some files, remove some directories, and like the same like Windows also, you remove folder, everything inside that is gone. Now you have any files inside that particular folders, like maybe I've been creating some files here. So even though you have some files in that directory, everything is gone. Same like Windows, nothing different. A folder removal will remove all the files inside that folder. So this is how you can remove the things. rm command with the file name, just to give a forceful option -f, and whereas rm-r is used for removing a directory. Okay, and again, both the cases, you have to be very careful that if you once remove the things, you will not get the things back. Okay, so consciously you do that. It should be fine. Right? Makes sense? Any questions? Cool. The next is copying files and directories. Okay. So if I want to copy one file from one location to another location, or copy a file in the same location with a different file name, so we use copy files and directories. Okay. So here I have a nodes.txt, and if I give cp command and I give nodes.txt, copy to pages.txt, it just created a new file, pages.txt, and all the content inside the node.txt is pasted. It's like right click copy, right click paste. Okay, I just did it in the same place, but I want to do it in a separate place, by the way. So then I will go and try to give the full path. So cp nodes.txt, let's say opt/nodes.txt. I have given it. So that means I have copied this nodes.txt from here into another path, and the file name as nodes.txt. Now, while you're actually doing that, you can change the file name also. Okay, so this is how you can do that. And with the same cp command, you can also try to go for, you can also try to copy a folder as well again. So mkdir demo. So cp-r or cp, or basically I can create a touch folder. So touch demo new.txt, something like that. And ls demo, it has some files inside it. Now cp-r demo. Okay, now you can copy the whole folder to wherever the location you want. For an example, I wanted to give /tmp. Now I can give /tmp/demo. It will be copied as demo folder. Or if you don't want to give this name also, it's fine. So if the destination is cp command, this is a source and this is a destination. And if the destination, you don't give any file names, it automatically pick up the source file name. So that means if I give /tmp simple, okay, it just simply copy as the file name as demo, because I don't want to change the name, by the way. So only for changing the name, I think it makes sense to give the full file name. But if you're not changing the file name, you want to copy just into another folder, you simply give the folder name. That should be fine. So now this has been copied to that location. Okay, now I can go to cd/tmp for verification. So there is a demo folder. So you go inside demo. So the files inside the demo would have got it. So you can see that it is new.txt. Okay. This is how you can copy a file and a directory. So while you're copying the file, there is no While copying the file, there is no hyphen R option. While copying the directory, same like RM command, I'm using hyphen R option. Okay. So once again, so I'll just try to create a new file, like let's say um, a new file, which is sample mkdir Java folder. So now CP sample, I want to copy into Java folder. I can copy simply like that. I don't need to give the file name. Okay. Even this slash also is not needed. It just came with my shortcut usage. That's okay. So that means like this is fine. Okay. Now the next is CP hyphen R Java to let's say slash TMP. So the folder itself is completely copied. ls of slash TMP slash Java. All the content over here has been copied. So we copy the file and we copy the directory. While you're copying the file, hyphen R option is not needed. When you're copying a directory, hyphen R option is needed. So this is about how do you copy the files and directories in Linux. Clear? Any questions? Okay. Okay, I don't see any hands. Going to the next one. Renaming or moving a file. Now renaming or moving a file, by the way. So in Linux, we can move the file from one location to another location, which is same like a Windows job, which is cut paste. You right click cut, right click paste, right? So the same option here, you are moving the file. Okay. And also renaming a file. Renaming a file again in Windows, right click rename something, right? So you'll do that. Now here will be done by single command only. Okay. So which is mv command. But I think in the previous command, okay, so in the previous CP command, no one asked any question. I was generally expecting a question. So what happens if you're copying a file, if the file exists, by the way, right? Now, for an example, now this case, so cp sample.java, and which is in Java, the sample.java already exists. Now, what happens to that? So it will simply going to ask you whether you want to overwrite whether. Okay, it will overwrite. The file is already there. It is gonna overwrite that. Okay. I'm giving no, so it is asking. So sometimes again you need to go with the force way. So force is again asking the same thing. To avoid the CP command, not asking it by the way, have to read the CP command option. So CP command manual page. This is what I told, right? So anything you wanted to, anything I wanted to read about the options, you start with the manual page. Now, by default, there is an interactive option enabled, so that's where it is asking. Okay. So overrides a previous option, -n, non-interactive. It has to be addressed in a different way. Okay, fine. So then so by default -i option is enabled for CPE and hyphen on interactive. So let's see. I'll do one small work. Now that means ls-l of sample.java, it is having 6 bytes in it. So it is having 6 bytes in it, and then it is having 6 bytes in it. And whereas ls-l of Java folder, sorry, ls-l of Java folder, it is having 0 bytes, by the way. Now let's see whether this is really doing the job of, okay, this one. Now ls-l of Java. So it is still not copying actually. Now, yes, you can still do that, but in a different way, like I mentioned. So you can, the CP command, at least on the command line, always asks for interactively, okay, yes or no, by the way. Now, if I don't want that one, actually, the CP command, little bit internals later, you will get an understanding. Now, the type of CP command I'm asking, the CP command is given as CP-I behind the scene. CP command is an alias command again to CP with a -i option. So that's where is always -i option. Okay. Now I don't want this alias. I wanted to just use the default one. So \CP you can use. Now it is going to simply copy it without any interactive option. Okay. So now ls of Java. So ls-l of Java. You can see that the file would have been overridden. Yes, the 6 bytes came. And without any asking yes or no. So this is the option that you have with CP command if you wanted to override. Okay. Without interactive, you had to use \. ls command also, if you have observed, I have done this ls because the type ls is always ls command doesn't give the colors by default. Now, even if I wanted to get the ls color option, so ls is given as ls-color. Now to avoid this, okay, ls is giving the color and I don't want the color. So what I have done is \ls, if you have observed. So it was not giving any color, right? So I'm avoiding this alias. I'm telling that don't use alias. Okay, use my actual command you're telling. So with \, this is an approach that you have in Linux. In any case, you want to override the file without any interactive. Just in the OS, by the way, by default, they're setting up the -i option with the default OS, whatever they are getting. Just do, if you wanted to avoid that, you can still use \. option. That it's just the internal part of OS. This is how it works. Yeah. So that's about something on the CP command. Now let's talk about another one, which is called as no, sorry. Previously, the CP command, what it has done is it has, if the target file is already there, it is overriding the file. If you go with an interactive mode, okay, you will be asked yes or no. Okay. Now, if you're just moving away from the interactive option, directly giving it, it will simply override the target file. So just keep that in mind when you're actually trying to do that, right? So the next one, which is going to be, is move the files from one location to another location, okay, which is a cut and paste, or simply rename a file, okay. So now here MV command, so your source and destination. So you're actually having, first let's deal with the rename of the file. So touch nodes.txt file. Okay. Now I'm trying to rename the file nodes.txt as node.txt. Now ls, there is no nodes.txt, it is actually node.txt. Now to move the file from one location to another location, so mv pages.txt, to give the path, by the way, you give the folder name. Now pages.txt doesn't exist here. It's moved up. Okay. Now the same thing, whatever you learned in the cp command applies here as well. So if the destination exists, it is going to overwrite that file. Okay. So now again, touch pages.txt. Now if I try to move it, it is again asking for yes or no. So let's see, the type of MV also is being coming as interactive. Now forcefully do that. Okay, yes, and it is going to do the same operation that what cp command has done as well. It is going to override the file. Now there are two things. One is I rename the file. Okay, if the destination doesn't exist, it is going to rename the file. So this is a source, this is a destination. Just look from the destination perspective. If the destination doesn't exist, it is renaming the file. If the destination exists, it is overriding the file. And if the destination is a directory, it is going to move the file from this location to another location. Three scenarios. Just on the destination perspective. If the destination doesn't exist, it's simply a file name, it is going to rename it. Or if the destination exists, okay, it is going to override. Or if the destination exists and it is a directory, then it is going to move this file from this location to that location. So that is how you're having three different scenarios for MV command. Okay. Clear? Any questions?
Raghu, the first thing you said that if the destination doesn't exist, it should rename the file, correct?
Correct.
But where will it move if the destination doesn't exist? Because you have to.
Technically talking, you're thinking that it is actually renaming in a way, but it's actually moving only. Right? It's basically it's not really renaming in a way, or behind the scene the operation can be renamed, but you actually understand it's actually moving the file. Now the metadata of the file has been moved into another file name in that context. Okay, so that's how it is.
Okay.
So technically talking, you just look at the details of the, what it can do, by the way, right? So that will answer your, answer that answer, by the way. So if I really go with, so in an operating system, so I have a hard disk. Okay, I have a hard disk, and then I will be going for I have a hard disk, and like let's say some blocks I am having the file which is nodes.txt. Okay, so I'm having nodes.txt. Now what I'm doing is it is still in the same hard disk. Okay, so now there is some metadata in the hard disk telling that, okay, so somewhere that nodes.txt exists. Okay. Now this is the data part. Okay, this is a data part of it, and this is a metadata part of it. Now any operation you are trying to do, so it looks in metadata where this nodes.txt exists, and it will read the retrieve information from understanding in the metadata. It will tell that, okay, it is available in this block of the hard disk, and something is written, and it will go and try to retrieve the information. Now we are trying to perform an operation to move something. Now in the metadata, so move the things means the data is still same. There's no point in actually moving the thing, so the data will still reside same. And in the metadata, by the way, it is going to be, okay, moved from one location to metadata. It is going to be moved from one location to another location, which is okay. So here in the metadata, there is an information saying that nodes.txt is pointing to something that will be moved to as an information as move.txt inside here. So the metadata part. Okay, so you're literally not moving any data. Cut paste doesn't really require any touching the data part. you just only do the update the metadata part. Unless you're actually moving that to a separate hard disk, it's a different story. But since you're in the same place, it just updates the metadata information. Okay. So this is how it is going to work. And that's where this operation is still done by, still done by mv command. Now, again, that applies to the directory also, by the way. Now we are thinking that, okay, if it is a directory, it is moving the file, again, still the operation still remains in, right? So nodes.txt is still the data is there. Now the metadata information, it is going to tell that it is actually just moved to /tmp/nodes.txt. It is not really touching the data blocks, just updating the metadata saying that, okay, this file is referred in this folder. Now it is being updated to the reference to that folder. That's it. And that's how ls command will not able to see that. Technically, it's not moving anything or cut pasting anything. Okay. Either in Windows or Linux, by the way. If it is the same hard disk, it's a different hard disk operation performs. Like it has to move the data, touch the data block, update both the data, metadata, and as well as the data block. Yeah.
Hi, Raghu, that we are dealing with only one same kind of file, right? Like it's a .txt. Suppose if you're moving any data and by default or by mistake we select a destination which is a different file name. So what will happen on that case? Suppose it's a .txt file, we're moving into Java file, suppose. So
There is no problem. It's just that, like I told, it's just the file name only. No extensions can't harm anything.
okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, Raghu.
Others are asking. Anyone? Any other questions?
While moving the file, right? In case the file exists also, it will ask the same question, like while copying the file.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's-
Yes or no is being asked.
okay, okay.
Hi, Raghu. So, in here, like, how to check the data inside the file, and like in like Windows, we'll simply double click the file, and we can see what data is there in. So here, how we can check?
We'll go there. So upcoming topics.
Oh, okay, okay.
Raghu, just one question. Here, -r is associated with all the command with respect to directory. Is it?
No, not all the commands. Some commands. Yes.
Okay. In case of move, will it be applicable to -r? If I'm moving the directory from one location to other location.
Yeah, move does not really require -r option.
Okay.
So yeah, so if there is a directory or a file, okay, without like again, you look at the so this operation behind the scene, by the way, it doesn't really require to specify just updating the metadata parts. Right? So I mean, the command idea, they didn't came up with a -r option.
Okay. To understand that more in manual, we can refer. Is it like, for example, if I don't remember any particular -r is applicable or not, so we can refer to manual.
Yeah, you can always refer to the documentation.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so shell CLI shortcuts. I'm giving you this for your reference, by the way. So if you want to become, too much hands-on onto the command line, rather than you do the job all the time, so it can help you with some shortcuts, or you can make your life easy with some shortcuts, by the way. So that means like, so I'm giving MV, I'm typing FI, and I'm not typing full thing. So I'm just giving tab, by the way, automatically it is filling. Okay. I'm giving LA and give tab, automatically it is filling, right? This is one of the shortcut. Tab is one of the shortcut like that. So there are at least the top 10 shortcuts, some document I have picked up. So necessarily not only this, by the way, but there are more as well. So just at least if you can start using this, so tab is one thing I told. So these are the other things also you have. So minimum, I mean, if you know these particular things, it makes your life easy when you're actually doing the job on the command line. Okay, so start practicing these things, read these things, practice these particular things. So daily, by the way, so that you will be able to, so get hands performed better way in the command line. Okay, so shortcuts like in Windows, maybe right click copy you can do, and you can select and do Control C, right? So makes your life easy, the shortcut. So the same way here, command line also you have shortcuts, makes your life easy. So please use that. All right. So the next one is okay. So about the content and its filters. Now there is a okay. We have seen how to create a file, by the way. No, we are not seeing still the content of the editor. If we want to see the content of a file, then we don't need to rely on. Actually, this is a bit old one. The editor coming later. Okay, fine. So this is just start from here. So how do you see a content of a file? Okay, there's a cat command that is very frequently used in Linux to see the content of a file. So like again, there are many ways to do that. So cat is one of the command that to do that. Now cat /etc password. Okay, there is a file called as etc password. I'm just picking up this file for. I'm just picking up this particular file. Okay, so here is the file. Okay, now if I want to see the same file name with the line number also, it is possible. So 1 to 22. Okay, so this is how you can see the content of a file. If I have some content in the file, you can use cat command and you can see that. But in many situations, you want to have a certain number of lines only. I don't want everything to be catted. Now let's say here it is 22 lines. It is fitted in the screen. And there may be like, so 100, 200 lines, 1,000 lines, 10,000 lines. You will be bombarded with the output. Okay. So and why I need to see the content, by the way, because I wanted to read something, right? So I wanted to know something inside that particular file. And most of the time, I don't really need to go through the complete file. I have certain preference, by the way. Okay. I want, to look at certain specific thing. Okay. Now if you want some specific thing, the filters will come into picture, filter commands. Now the filters can be done in 3 ways. One is a line number based filtering. Okay. The line number based filtering will be done through, the first one is called as a head command. Now head of /etc password is going to show you the top 10 lines. Okay. Now whereas head of -n will -n3, if I give, it will show you the top 3 lines. The first 3 lines it is trying to show. By default, it will show top 10 lines. And if you want the last 10 lines, you will be getting with you'll be getting with head -n option. The same applies to the tail command. So tail of /etc password, it will show you the last 10 lines, and the tail -n2, by the way, is going to show you the last 2 lines. Okay, so these two will go with the line number based filtering. And whereas the next one is going to be a row based filtering by searching something. Okay, so you want to pick up certain line only. You wanted to pick up certain line, and that certain line has some word, by the way. I want to search a word and I wanted to get it. Now let's say then that is where the grep will come into picture. So the grep has so grep, for an example, I know a word called as geo. Okay, and then /etc password. It is giving you a line with geo. For an example, I'm searching for a root. You're getting 2 lines. Okay, I am getting like, let's say, no login. I get many lines. Okay, like this, you're going to search a particular word and you want to print those lines. Then grep command is a very beautiful command there. It does the job. And the one last option that you have here is column-based filtering. Okay, column-based filtering. Now this is a proper file. It has proper columns. This is a column number 1, and after that you have a colon symbol, and again second column, colon symbol, third column, colon, like that. You have this is a column-based file. Okay, now if I wanted to go with a column-based filtering, then a command which is very helpful here, which is AWK command. AWK, you have to tell, okay, so what is the column delimiter? What is a field separator, -f field separator, which is colon symbol. Okay, now inside that, what you're looking for, print $1, print $1. Okay, so which is /etc/ let's say 1. Okay, you are getting. Okay, etc pass first column. Now if I want the first column and let's say $4, fourth column, okay, I'm giving and enter. So you're getting, this is the first column space, you're getting fourth column. Okay, so this is how you can get the filters, by the way. So one is line-based filtering based on the line numbers you are getting. Okay, criteria is line numbers, and the second one is a word search, searching a word and getting those lines. And the third approach is you can look the file in a column-based approach as well. You can get the columns also. Okay, so this is how you can get the content of a file and with some filtering. Okay, does it sound clear? Any questions?
One question here, Raghu, like if I have some, for example, I'm searching for one grep with the exception or error word, and I want to find that all the exceptions at one place and redirect to some other place. I mean, I want to store somewhere, and later I can analyze what is happened. So, uh, or any other error or exception or warning alert, some kind of. So, how will I can find it with using grep, but how will redirect that into some other location?
Yeah, upcoming topics in the shell scripting, we'll talk about redirectors.
Okay, means a script we can write and we can redirect all the error or exceptions.
Yeah. We can assume that. We have to go through that topic to understand.
Sure. Thank you.
Raghu, if you want to search on a particular file name, okay, and on a particular directory with some other extension, what will be that command? Like we are searching like row wise and the number, whatever the number it is there. But if you want to search with the exact file name,
there is a find command for that.
Okay. It will be later. It will come, right?
Find, I don't think so. It is there in my path. Earlier, I used to keep it, but I removed it. There's no. I think no, it is not there.
Because like in Windows, we'll search for a particular file name under any folder, right? We'll do the search.
Yeah, here also you have it, but like again, we're talking about the yesterday's scope, right? So we're picking up the Linux of what is the requirement. I need it for my training. And also at the same time, I set the context. So Linux is a whole different world. Like you have every option. It's an operating system. It have every option. When you need for you're looking for certain options, you should start reading about it. Same like Windows. If you don't know something, you should read about it. The same way, I mean, if you're thinking your operation is logical, there should be something already there in the operating system to handle that. So if you go with the Linux commands, by the way, any basic operating system, you'll have 10,000 commands.
Yes.
So you end up here only cycling. So we can't go that way. So that's where find command I had removed consciously. Earlier I used to be there, maybe 2 years back, 3 years back, it was there. But I was not using it at any point. I mean, I was not at all using it anywhere in my training, by the way. I just discarded it in my list of top commands I'm teaching. But yeah, find command, and you can go through that. If you have any questions, feel free to come back on any question on the lab session, but I can help you.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So the next is an editor, by the way. Okay. Now, so far you're dealing with the content which is already there in the file. Now you wanted to create a new file with some content, or you wanted to modify the file. It's the content of that file. So there are Linux editors which is available. Okay. Now there are many editors in the Linux again. Out of that, VI is a very powerful editor. Okay, and it comes with more options. Okay. However, we also consider, okay, however, we consider to know these options because, however, okay, I think it is not written properly. So VI is a powerful editor and it comes with more options. However, we consider to know only these options. What are those options? Okay, these two options. Okay, so let me update the document. So it's feeling a little bit odd also. Hold on. So this also we had a little adjustment here. We have, and which will be handy. Filter they call. Okay, the same way editor also I'll say. There are many editors which are part of different operating systems. Editors like VI, Nano, Gedit, Emacs, and more are mostly common, are mostly known editors. Among these 90% of the operating systems so ships VI as a default editor, which is fine. Now VI is a very powerful editor and it comes with and it has more and more options. However, we consider to know only these following two options, because later we are going to edit the code with an editor installed in the desktop. So now you see this, my editor, I'm editing the code actually, or it can be a text also, that's fine. So you're actually editing over the Windows edited, tools, by the way. Okay. You don't really get into a login to your server, you open editor and you edit the files there. No, that is very, that is not at all the process that you follow in the real-time organization or in the real time. Will not even have an access to the system. So forget about modifying, by the way. Okay. To that extent, the maturity is there in the organizations. So that means you don't really, do some modifications directly on the server side. It has to go through the development. Okay. And if the change is fine, then only with automation, it will go and deploy into the server. So that's where most of the time you don't really, go to the Linux box and edit a file. And there's no pointing in learning each and every option in that editor as well. Okay. So considering that, by the way, so we are going to talk about only few options, which is there, but it is not avoidable again. Okay, completely also I can't get rid of it, because pretty rare cases you may need to know about at least the basic option. By the way, how do you open a file, how do you edit the file and save it? At least that basic minimum option you should be aware of, forgetting about all the features whatever we have. Okay, so that's where this is coming. And now coming here, so those are two options that we are going to talk about. Is ideally in organization we work on local desktop, so that's where editing the code. Even these following two options also is not the one. We'll say that following two scenarios. So only these follow. However, we consider to know only I think that's these following two scenarios, because later we did the code. Okay. Now, ideally in the organization, okay, so no, not at all. These two options. There's not even two scenarios. Where is the powerful editor? But however, we consider to know only few scenarios, because later we edit the code because of the following reasons. These are the reasons, by the way. Now, what are the reasons? Ideally in the organization, we work on the local desktop rather than directly on the server side for editing the code. In real time, we don't directly do modifications on the server directly. So that is one of the reasons. And later when we go with automation is your key foundation to the role, where we don't do manual changes on the server again, right? This also is another context that we don't need to know about each and every option. Don't waste time around it. That's my context. Okay. Now coming to the editor, by the way, so the VI editor. Now VI editor also, we're going to talk about two options only. We can edit the file and save the file with the instructions. And so we can open the file, edit the file. We can open the file, edit the file and save the file. That is one scenario. You can open the file, edit the file, and you don't save the file because you don't want to save the file. Okay. This is also another scenario will come into picture. So we'll talk about both the things. Okay. So let's talk about that. So now how do you do that? VI is editor, and you can open one file. This is a new file, by the way. The editor itself is telling this is a new file down. Now you need to press insert, okay, to edit the file. Even in Windows also, you double click a file and you click on that, that editor place, you click your mouse, then you can start doing the editing, right? So here that clicking is basically done through a character on your keyboard, which is insert button. If you don't have insert button in your keyboard, you're still free to use the I button also, I character. So now the moment I press the I character, so it is telling me that I am ready to insert, by the way. So down it is showing some information, insert. Then now you do some verification. So I'm just typing hello world, something like that. Okay. Now I'm done with the changes. And after that you press escape. Okay. I'm pressing escape. The moment I pressed escape, that insert symbol is gone. Okay. Now you press colon and WQ enter. So colon, write the changes to the disk, W, which is nothing but same. and Q, quit also. WQ means save and quit. You got it. Now cat file, you can see that all over. And for an example, if I'm opening a file which is already exists, by the way, anaconda case.cfg, so this file already exists, it is opening the content which is already there. Okay. So now here, again, the same thing. If I want to do some modifications, I press I. Now set EUX you have, I wanted to add ABC also. Let's say I added that content, did the modification and escape. Okay. And escape :WQ, you saved it. Now I go to the file and due to any reason, okay, I don't want to save this one. So then what I do is escape, okay, : Q you do, okay, with exclamatory symbol. If I do simply give Q, it will tell that, hey, you can't do that because there are some changes. You wanted to forcefully do that, Q exclamatory. So Q exclamatory, that means it is not changed. So one scenario is you open the file and save the changes. One scenario is you open the file and you don't save the changes. You don't want to save the changes. So these are the two scenarios that it will come into picture mostly. So let's do some editing and save the file. Maybe in middle, you have decided not to save the file also. You can come out without saving the file. But we know that generally an editor still supports some things like, a search and replace and things like that. Okay. That options we are not covering with a VA editor. There's one more editor that will have it because this is the command line editor we use mostly in the automation. Our role is automation. So that's where we learn an editor that supports more to the automation because VA is a manual way you have to do that. So VA, you have to go in, you have to type insert button, you have to type all the things, changes, save it and come out. Okay. So this all takes time or takes manual intervention, by the way. Not time also, manual intervention. So we don't want to do that way. So our role is clearly, we know that it is automation role, right? So maybe we didn't added that particular point yesterday while we are doing that. Okay. So this automation is something that, okay, we discussed, by the way. Automation is a key foundation of the role. So that's where we require something to, edit the file in an automated manner, not by going inside. So that's where the next editor will come. So otherwise, these are the two options I wanted to cover in the VA editor. So how do you open a file? Okay, modify it and save it. How do you open a file? You modify, but you realize I don't want to save it. You come out without saving it. You did a mistake and I don't want to save it anymore. So just come out. So that's how you have two options. WQ : WQ to save and quit, and : WQ exclamatory is to quit without saving it. Okay. Any questions?
Hi, Raghu.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beginning of the command line, you type first VI when
Yes.
that file was not there. That is the new file it's told. But when the file exists, you type VIM. So what is the difference? VI.
Sorry if that's my bad, by the way. So VI and VIM both are same. VIM is an
Okay.
My subconscious actually came into picture. Consciously I did not type.
Okay,
VI
I got it.
is a basic editor, and also there is a next version also which is there, which is VIM. Both are same.
Okay. So if that new file also, we can use VIM.
Yeah.
Okay. That's clear.
My bad. Yeah.
It's fine.
Any other questions? Okay. So now there is another editor that will mostly help us here. So which is SCD editor, a very powerful editor again. VI and SCD, most of the options are same, but SCD is also a very powerful editor. Okay. So that it has on the command line. Now, most of the time, as a DevOps engineer, we're going to make the changes to the system with automation. While we're learning Linux OS to automate, So we use shell commands only to perform the job. So here is a SCD command that comes as a default editor that can do the job for you. That means there are other commands also to edit the file directly from the command line. But SCD comes as OS standard or OS basic one and has a lot of options. Okay. At least I never got a chance to work on any other editor other than SCD. Okay, in automation perspective. Okay, because itself, I really no need to look for alternative option because it does the job, right? So that's where, so we can pick up any data, but yeah, the requirements that can come in, by the way, is search and replace. Okay, so you have a command called as search, you have an option feature that you will be looking at in an editor, which is you search a word and you replace that word, by the way. Okay, apart from that, you add some new lines and maybe you delete some existing lines. Okay, search and replace can, search a word and delete a word also, right? Because you're not replacing with anything, it's nothing but a delete a word. So that means the delete a word operation is already covered in the first place only. First one, search and replace, you're searching for a word, replacing with another word, or you search for a word and you replace with nothing. So that's just word is removed, right? So that's how deleting a word is already covered there. After that, you have a scenario of adding some lines of your requirement, or else delete a line. Apart from this, I don't think so you get any other requirement. So if you just look at an editor, what do you do, by the way? You need to do you need to search for a word and you replace with another word, or else you search for a or else you completely add a new line. Okay, or else maybe modifying an existing line also can come into picture. Okay, and delete a line also. These are the things that we have, by the way. Okay, so that means modify a line also I can add. Modify a line also you can do. Okay. Now let's go to the SCD editor and let's understand this. In SCD command, we use -i option to edit the file. Okay, -i option to edit the file. However, in case we don't want to edit the file, but still we want to see the changes on the screen, then we don't need to give -i option. So that means SCD, okay. So SCD of something, for an example, I'll use -word1 and word2. Now let's say, and also I told you, I also in VI editor, you can do one more thing. So sorry, VI, let's say cat/etc password. Now I wanted to copy these 4 lines. It automatically copied. Now VI, let's say one more file password. I'll go for insert. Now whatever the content I can copy from the Windows also, you can paste it here. Okay, so like this. So maybe this killer code is asking you to allowing you to right click and paste so that it is coming in. So that means you can, even though you have your content in your Windows, you can simply copy and paste on the VI editor also. It's also fine. Okay. So now I have a file called as password. Now SCD, I wanted to do a search and replace. I wanted to search for no login and I want to replace with a yes login. Okay. So if I'm giving -i option, okay, it is going to directly modify the file. If I hit enter, now there was a no logins, by the way, it has been changed as yes logins. But this original file has been not modified. This file is still having no logins because you just asked to change the output only, print the output only, but never asked to modify the file. Okay, SCD-i is going to modify the file. So cat space password, it is actually modified that content, by the way. So now how do you search and replace? By using a substitute option. So in single quotes or double quotes, you can provide this, a substitute option. And what is the difference between single quote and double quote? You learn in the shell scripting class. So now here substitute, okay, you're giving a pipe symbol, like, in Windows, in this editor, you have boxes, by the way, right? Okay, you have a boxes bounding. Okay, what is a word? What is a word? Okay, to search and replace. Now the same way here, okay, so you have some box bounding. So that is being given as a pipe symbol. You search for no login, and again, you're done, by the way, with that pipe symbol. And yes login and then pipe symbol. Okay, you're done. You're just imagine just the boxes, by the way. You need to put those in the boxes. Now, two pipe symbol is one box you're considering. Okay, that's what is the substitute command is doing. So substitute command with such a word and replace. Okay, and if you want to do the modification, -i, or else you don't do -i, just observe the output is also fine for us for learning prospect. Okay. Now the next one is when you are searching for a word, by the way, and when I am searching for a word, for an example, I wanted to search for a word, let's say a root, and I wanted to replace that with a word called as admin. Okay, I want to search for a word root, and I want to search for a replace with another word called as admin. Now there are root actually here. You can see this. Okay, there's a root here. There's a root here. So I'm expecting those things to modify, but it's not actually happening. So why is it happening? Why is it not happening? Is because your ROOT is a case sensitive thing. Capital root, small. Okay. Now you go for I and you do that. So now it has been replaced. Now while replacing also, okay, only the first entry has been replaced. The second entry and third entry is still there. Okay, why? Because the SCD command substitute option by default only go and replace the first possibility. It will not go for the second possibility or all the possibilities. If you want to possibly give all the possibilities in that line, then G option will come. G is going to change globally in that line completely. Global, lot of people think that it is a file. No, globally it is across the line. Okay, so G. Okay, so here it is all the things changing. Or else you wanted to change only the second possibility. Yes, it is possible. You can see this. The second possibility is modified. Or you want to change only the third possibility. Yes, there is options available. So G is all possibles. By default is first possibility. Okay, G is all possibilities. And which possibility also you can choose. Right? So this is how the SCD command is actually working. Okay. Now you should be already realizing in Windows how difficult are. You don't have such options, right? So generally. So that is about substitute part. And the same way you have something called as adding a new line. Now, how can you add a new line is, okay, so you can insert in the first line and giving a insert line. Okay, you can give insert line, first line, I'm inserting hello world. Or else I don't want to insert, I want to append to the first line. So I can go for append of first line. Okay. Or else you go for a modify of the line, which is change that line. So C option. So you can, first line has been changed. So previously, but to the first line, in the first line it is inserting. Second option is it is appending to the first line, A. And the third option is it is changing the complete first line. It is removing the first line and adding this line. And the criteria you have given is based on the line number. Now the criteria can be also done through, okay, a word search also. You search for a word root, okay, or search for a word no login or yes login, let's say in our case. So change all the lines wherever you have yes login, you change that lines with hello world. Now all the 4 lines is having yes login, you changing that lines with this one. Or wherever you find a yes login, you add hello world to that for each and every 4th line. I mean, all 4 lines, it is adding it or inserting it. So you can do that. And finally, delete a line is, so just simply go for wherever you find S login, delete those lines. Sorry. Wherever you have S login, delete those lines are deleted. Or else you can go for line number based 1D to delete that line, first line. delete the line. Now all these options you can give with -i so that it can directly modify the file. I'm not giving -i option. Now SCD also supports multiple operations also. So now SCD-e, the first operation is delete the first line, and first line insert hello world also you can do. So now second option, this is the one. So then you can give -e option. Okay. So you can give multiple things. Now the first line you're trying to delete, and in the first line you're inserting it because the first line is gone already. Now I'll give fourth line insert, it will come. First line you're already deleting it, so it can't add it there. So I'm just having it in the fourth line. Just as an example, two operations I'm trying to do at the same time. So it is possible. Now these are all the different operations which we have in SCD command that we wanted to learn. Okay. And that's all for today. I would like to take a pause. Too many things. Otherwise, we'll cover some basic commands in tomorrow's session, and we'll get with the Azure related things. Start with Azure. Azure VM. I mean, the next practice of the commands is administrative commands that needs our own machine to practice. That's where we'll go and create our own machine. So that's all in this editor concept. So VI and SAD editor. Any questions, please go ahead.
Hello, Raghu.
Yeah.
In this last command, you mentioned this is in the fourth line you are inserting hello world, but it is a third line, right? I mean, maybe wrong.
It's fourth line inserting. No? So at the fourth line, it is inserting. First line you deleted.
Okay.
So first line is still there, right? So it is a fourth line.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And one more question from my side. Like, I am just trying to set up this Azure sign up thing. So, but I'm getting one error, Raghu. So, verification place. So, how can I
Yeah.
proceed? That
Try it out in your mobile browser. It will work.
Okay. So first time I need to do it in mobile, and then I can.
There is some known bug actually with Azure sign up. Okay, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. When it is not working, you go to the mobile browser, open a browser in the mobile and do the sign up, it will work.
Okay. Okay.
If still any issues also, today from today you can start attending the lab sessions. The lab session link is I have given, and the timings also I have given. So during that time you can join. Maybe if there is still an issue, we can take them.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, now that is true for everyone. From today, you can start attending the lab sessions if you have any. So here is the lab session link. So the GitHub, and if still anyone doesn't have this GitHub link, I'm pinging it again in the chat. So please open it and save it. All right. Any other questions?
Hello, Rahul. Hello, team. About the lab session link, do we able to enjoy this lab session tomorrow from 1 to 9 p.m. Or how it's gonna be? I didn't get.
It's every day, so no problem.
But I mean, it's time. Okay, I see. Sorry.
So it's going to be 3:30 a.m., which is 3:30 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? All good? Okay. All right. So if there is anything, so just okay, feel free to join in the lab session. And if you have questions, only join. Otherwise, there's no point in joining us. Okay. So if you have any questions, feel free to join and clear it up there. Okay. Otherwise, we are good. And thank you. See you in tomorrow then. Okay. Bye. Good day. Good night.